Hey, I'm going to take you through my inventory system and my shipping process. It's hard to do one without doing the other. Give you a sense of how you can implement a very, very simple system of organization like this if you're a smaller seller. This will work for anybody who has who has inventory less than, I would say, like 1,500 items. This should work just fine. Let me take you over to my very messy ass workstation here and show you how I begin to pack and ship orders. So this is my eBay sold screen. I'm covering up some personal info here, obviously. This is a Brooks Brothers turtleneck vest that is going out today. And if you see here, this field below the title, custom label SKU 15. So that number 15 corresponds to the number of one of these bins. At the beginning of every day, when I need to ship stuff, I will go into my eBay solds, grab a Post-it note, and just write down that list of SKUs, so 15, 31, 21, whatever, and then a couple of keywords based on what the item is, just to remind me when I'm sorting through the bin itself. And then I have a little order form. It's a very streamlined and efficient process. Let me show you where that SKU actually goes. So I'm here in my eBay actives, and this is where the SKU will live. So typically what I will do is I will list everything for that session, and then as I store them in those bins, I will come in and input the relevant number right here. So let's just say this is going in bin 12. Hit submit. Now that listing has that SKU attached to it, and it'll stay there until you end the listing. So let's actually hunt for and pull that J.Crew turtleneck. Hunt with me here, 15, 15. Obviously you can organize these by number, but that would make my life too easy. So instead I've gone ahead and shuffled them all into a very confusing matrix, just to add a little bit more depth of flavor to my shipping process. Okay, so we got lucky here. The 15 is right on top. So I'm gonna set the camera down for a second and pull this down and show you what lurks in the bins. Okay, here's a bin. I got this at Walmart for $5. Some of these I collected at thrift stores as I went. You can get them for pretty cheap. And these are gonna be higher quality than these, which are pretty flimsy plastic, but they do the job. So 15, and it looks kind of messy, go figure, but it works. So we got lucky again. This was just sitting right on top. Just double check. Brooks Brothers, it was Brooks Brothers, not J.Crew. Okay. So as you can see, this is already folded. So after I list a piece of clothing, I will fold it. I weigh it as part of the listing process, so let me show you that. I keep a poly mailer folded up to use while I'm listing. So before the listing goes live, I will weigh it along with the poly mailer, and I will input that as the weight for the listing. So for clothing at least, hard goods, this isn't quite as true, but clothing, when I go to ship, I don't have to weigh it out. I don't have to pre-package it, and I don't have to weigh it out because I know that it's gonna weigh 6 ounces. And I do that with certainly everything. First class, I do it with everything that I know will fit in a padded flat rate envelope, and anything bigger and bulkier like this stuff that's going out today as well. I will just say priority mail, and then usually I'll do it on pirate ship. All of this is folded, pretty much ready to go. Here's a shirt. I don't know why I would have purchased Express, but there you go. So these are pretty much ready to ship out. Let's say hypothetically I was shipping this shirt. With button shirts like this, sometimes I will undo them and then I will refold them so that the buttons are on the inside, because those can be a little bit fragile. Those buttons are metal, so I probably wouldn't bother, but if they were wooden or big flimsy plastic buttons, I would consider doing that. As you have probably noticed, I don't store my stuff in poly bags. which is what a lot of people do. I would even go so far as to say the majority of people do. I don't think that it's necessary. I certainly don't think it's mandatory. It might make sense if you're a brand new seller, if you're really needing to protect your positive feedback, you really want to make sure you get a gold star for your shipping, then maybe go the extra step. That's what I did when I first started. I had poly bags. I didn't bag it up before I stored the stuff, but I would certainly put it in a poly bag before I would ship it out. And after a while, I just, well, what happened was I ran out of poly bags, and there was a few days gap when I was waiting for the new shipment to come in. If you don't know what I'm talking about, they're those clear polyurethane bags that people put clothing in before they put it in poly mailer to send out. So I was left high and dry without the poly bags, and I just started putting the clothing in the poly mailers straight, naked, and sending them out. And it worked totally fine. And I kind of second guessed the poly bags after that, and I ditched them, and I have suffered zero consequences. No negative feedback at all, not even a comment. People still occasionally leave comments about how well packaged my stuff is, even though it's just basically shoved in a poly mailer. Nothing bad has happened. I miss nothing. And I don't think that the poly bagging added anything to my process at all. In fact, if I were to poly bag all the stuff before I put it in the bins, I think it might actually cause a few problems, because every now and then customers message you with questions that you didn't answer in the description and the details of the listing, like they want an uncommon measurement, or they insist that you double check for stains in specific spots on the piece. So if you go in and unbag those pieces, you've wasted the bag, because you seal them typically, so you have to discard a bag. And then also the stuff that doesn't sell online, you've bagged it for no reason. So I try to avoid this, but sometimes I do get stale inventory that I like to take in to secondhand shops to flip in person, just to move it, get it out of the system. And it can be, you know, a couple dozen pieces. So 24, 30 poly bags are, you know, not free. It's not like you're really going to get lost in the whatever 30 odd items that are in the bin. I mean, you can pretty quickly identify what it is you're looking for, and you don't need to be looking for, you know, A25 in the bin. It's not going to save you that much time, I don't think. I get the little order form, I go and I pull everything all at once, set it up on the table to ship, and then I ship it. And what I typically do in terms of shipping on eBay is I will go in and uncheck everything that's not first class and just print off all of the first class tickets right away, because I know that they're already pre-measured. There's no mystery variables or moving parts there. So I do use a thermal printer. I advocate, if you are serious at all about reselling, just get the thermal printer. It doesn't have to be a Rollo. There's all kinds of competition. And you can find a perfectly good thermal printer for cheap if you want one, which you should. So these are my first class labels. Okay, these are my two first class items. It's that turtleneck plus a Cholo t-shirt. So I use these poly mailers. They're the eBay branded poly mailers that you get with your store coupon if you have a store. If you don't have a store, just get some basic poly mailers like this. You can buy them in bulk for relatively cheap. This is 10 inches wide and 12 and a half up to this point, which is how they're measured, if you want to pick some of those up yourself. Let me show you how I package. It's pretty complicated. You take the thing, you put it in the thing, make sure it's seated down in the thing, pull this off, put it in your mouth like this so you can use both hands, seal it, and then put the label on. One more time. That's the first class packages done. So this is also going out. This is actually a pretty good bolo, Law Maker. It's like a Western lawman jacket for reenacting or costumes or people that just like period stuff. And this is not going to fit in a padded flat rate. So there's a best way to fold these that I've found that is safe, secure, and minimizes the amount of volume that they take up in the packaging. So you lay it face up, bring the sleeves in across like this, and then fold this top part down. Fold it once, hot dog wise, and then you kind of roll it / fold it up like that. So the way this jacket was made, there's going to be one of these buttons on the back exposed. Typically with 99% of jackets, the buttons are all going to be encased within the fabric, so they're going to be protected when shipped. So I could shove this into the padded flat rate and punch it and kick it until it fit. It's not a good thing to do, especially for someone who spent 80 bucks on a jacket. Sometimes you can get away with it. The formal wear stuff, I don't prefer to ship it out in padded flat rate. Formal wear just meaning, I know that there's a technical term for that, but I just mean jackets, bigger jackets like this or suits. So because this doesn't fit really in a padded flat rate, I'm going to ship it Pirate Ship. Pirate Ship is a third-party service that gives you access to cubic priority mail shipping, which is dirt cheap. And if you can ship it not in rigid packaging, so in a poly mailer or in the priority mail envelope that I like to use that I'll show you, you can get dirt cheap prices for shipping. You can get really, really cheap shipping using these priority mail mailing envelopes. They're not flat rate, they're not express, they're the mailing envelope. And they are 11 5/8 by 15 1/8 in dimension. So the way priority cubic works is it calculates based on weight plus the measurements of the envelope or poly mailer that you mail in. So some people use poly mailers that are smaller than this, which might give you slightly reduced rates. However, these are free and they're pretty roomy, and I'm perfectly happy just to use the free ones. If you ran a spreadsheet, you might find that maybe buying a certain size poly mailer in bulk would tabulate out to be cheaper in the long run. I don't know. And then I'm going to put this in a second envelope just for a little bit more protection. This is sturdy. It's not as sturdy as a cardboard box, but it is close. This is really durable, plenty of protection, and perfectly acceptable to send nicer pieces this way as long as they're folded properly. I've sent 2-piece suits, 3-piece suits, nice jackets, nice sport coats. Pretty expensive stuff doing this. Perfectly fine, never had a complaint. So here's the Pirate Ship screen. Sorry for the flickering, whatever. So imported off of eBay. This is not the rigid packaging, it's the envelope option, and this is the dimensions of the envelope itself, not the package once it is packed. when it is empty and flat. That's the measurements that you're supposed to use. 2 pounds, 4 ounces. And then I'll go here to get rates. $9. So I'm just gonna slap this on and it'll be done. The rest of these are Poshmark orders. And Poshmark is even simpler. When you sell something, it will give you a prepaid label that's good up to, I think, 15 pounds. You can put it on any priority mail mailing box, certainly. I know some people use flat rate boxes for bigger stuff, but that's, my understanding, kind of a gray area in terms of the post office by you might not tolerate it. I don't know. I just use the mailing boxes, not priority flat rate boxes. So much simpler process. As long as it weighs below the weight threshold, you can just put it in a box, tape it up, and send it out. I used these. I use those same mailing envelopes for stuff like this, softer stuff, smaller stuff, just like I would use a poly mailer for an eBay first class. I also use eBay as an inventory system for Poshmark. So because I cross-list everything on both eBay and Poshmark, when something sells on Poshmark, I will go over to eBay and end the item and capture that SKU info that corresponds to the bin. Important to note, if you do this as well, if you end the item before you grab that info, either through a screen capture or writing it down somewhere, you will lose the info. eBay wipes it from the listing once you end it. So be absolutely sure to capture that. Otherwise, you're going to be digging through these bins for an hour, which has happened to me a number of times. Very precious information that you need to hang on to. But it does work great as long as you're diligent. Here's the end result. Bunch of packages. This is a mink stole. It's going out priority, one of these big mailing boxes. Here's a shirt that's Poshmark. More Poshmark, eBay, and then there's a couple of media mail, both eBay and Amazon. So the fruits of our labors. Shipping is kind of a chaotic process. It can generate a lot of mess and frustration. But one of the nice things about doing clothing is that it is relatively streamlined over hard goods. So if you do a lot of hard goods, each individual item is going to take its own careful consideration and packaging. And it takes much longer. If you get an order that's like 10 first-class shirts, could not be easier. You just hit buy shipping, assuming that you've weighed the stuff ahead of time properly, and just throw them in the poly mailers, slap some shipping labels on them, and you're done. Priority mail stuff, especially padded flat rate stuff, is not that much more complicated. It gets into the weeds a little bit when you start thinking about pirate ship, regional rates, weird sizes, but it's stuff that is not as complicated as people think it is, and you'll get the hang of it. So hope this helps and hope it's encouraging. This system has worked great for me. I know that it's not the most sophisticated, but it's more streamlined than it might appear. So give it a shot. If you don't have an inventory system at all, this is a good place to start at the very least. So thanks for watching.